So overall, what do we give this basketball shoe? I'm going to say for the aesthetics of this shoe, it does get in my opinion, a 10. I love how it looks. There's no complaints with this colorway. In my opinion, it's one of the best looking colorways for this model. For me, the aesthetics have to look right before anything. So this shoe passes the test for that. Now if we look at the materials, for the upper, you are going to have this mesh all throughout. And it is going to be a stiffer type mesh. So that's going to help with the support. But again, since this is a basic model or a budget line, you're not going to have a lot of extra materials layered on top or a lot of extra things to give it support. So have that in mind. But you are going to have some. For example, you're going to have these overlays in 4 areas. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you're going to have in the middle section of the shoe, this right here, around the laces. So this is going to help contain the shoe when you're playing in it. The next thing I want to talk about is how the laces connect to the upper. Now I do like that they added these 2 extra lace connectors right here, these openings, because it does help with the lockdown. When I see that in shoes, especially in shoes that have all mesh, I want to see some sort of system right here, and you can see that it's sewn on pretty good. That's going to hold your foot in place, and this shoe has that. So I mean, they're trying to make it work for a budget line, so I like to see that. Now if I relate it to my style of play, I do like to play really fast and really aggressive, so I'm going to have to watch out for that. I'm going to have to test if I can go 80 or 90%. But I know for a fact that I'm not going to be able to go 100% every time, because this shoe just doesn't have that type of support. So like we mentioned, be wary of that and get a feel for it. Now the next thing I want to talk about is the padding for the shoe. If we take a look, for the tongue, it's going to be like medium thickness. Not going to be too thin, but it's not going to be too thick. And again, we're dealing with the budget line. Same thing with the collar. You're going to have that medium thickness. Nothing fancy like extra pillows right here or cushioning on the edges right here on the inside. So it's going to be just something basic, something that's going to get the job done. And I do have to say, I do love that this shoe comes with a internal heel counter. You can feel it. And I don't buy basketball shoes that they don't have a heel counter, because I need that for me. It makes me feel more secure, it gives me confidence on the court. So this basketball shoe has that. Now moving on to the cushioning system of the shoe. You are going to have, like the shoe is called, the Nike Renew Elevate 3. You are going to have Renew cushioning for the whole shoe, full length. But you're also going to have another type of foam right here. As you can tell, you got 2 materials. For the Renew, it is going to feel somewhat stiff and flat, so don't expect to have too much protection when you're landing. You are going to be covered going coast to coast in this shoe for basketball and for sharp turns, for some sharp turns and for some speed. But again, this is not going to be a shoe that's going to be everything you want for jumping really high, so have that in mind, okay? So moving on to the bottom of the shoe, what the traction is going to look like. You have herringbone kind of in the center and these kind of whirlpools in the back and in the front. And I love how grippy this feels. I mean, it feels real good. So this is going to last, especially for outdoors. It's going to last real well. For indoors, it's going to have a nice bite to it, but because again, we're dealing with a budget line basketball shoe, expected to gather some dust. You gotta understand that in a budget line type of basketball shoe, you are going to have limitations. It does have good traction, but on the more expensive shoes, this bumper is a little higher and you have traction that crawls up higher into the shoe. And that's going to be helpful for those stops, right? When you're stopping, that's going to be very helpful. Okay? But this shoe, it has some of it, but again, it doesn't go all the way to the top. Also, we mentioned that the cushioning system, I mean, you can run fast in this shoe. You're going to have good ground feel, but it's not going to be good for those hard landings. Okay? And the Renew foam, it does feel somewhat firm, so you are going to feel the ground a lot. Just be wary that if you have those really aggressive stops, when you start feeling the foam bottom out, to be sure to pick up another shoe. And like I said, that's probably going to be like probably by the end of the basketball season if you're playing in the shoe constantly. And then after that, you can use that as a practice shoe. But I'd just be worried to make sure this shoe goes like for a whole year and then you keep using it. Just be cautious that this shoe is not going to perform good. Especially budget line shoes, they perform real good in the beginning, but as time goes on, they lose a lot of their ability. And some of the more expensive shoes are made to last a little bit longer. So just kind of test it out. See how the shoe is performing when you're practicing with it. And then you got a better handle. You can see what kind of stops you can do, or if it's starting to get a little bit slippery, and make sure you're wiping. That's my advice for you. But man, I was really impressed in this shoe. So if you're thinking of getting a basketball shoe, you're wondering, hey, trying to find a budget shoe, I think there's a good option right here for sure. And once again, these were the Nike Renew Elevate 3, a shoe that I recommend for a budget line. You're going to save money and you're going to get a lot out of this shoe. Just keep an eye out for how well it performs and know your limitations. Especially if you're a heavy set guy, see if it bottoms out a little. It's probably going to bottom out a little bit faster, but if you're a lighter type guy like a point guard or maybe a shooting guard, you shouldn't have any problems in this shoe. So thank you again for stopping by. These were the Nike Renew Elevate 3. Great looking shoe, performs up to par, and like always, thank you for stopping by, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.